Good afternoon or good evening if you're watching from Europe. I think people who've been watching the show for some time understand the basic concept of the format. I get to talk to analysts, I get to talk to officials, and they will share with me their opinion about events that are making news. It's rare to have an opportunity, however, to speak to an actual news maker. And today we have a unique opportunity to do just that. The story of Viktor Bout is known to almost everybody now, if only because he was the man who was exchanged for McGregor, the WNBA basketball star who had been arrested and imprisoned in Russia. And if you read the headlines in the United States, she was exchanged for this notorious individual, a man who was a gun runner, somebody who wanted to kill Americans, etc., imprisoned in the United States, and we exchanged this for Miss Grenier. Well, that's one side of the story. Here we have an opportunity to get the other side of the story, which will enable everybody in the listening audience hopefully to get the full story. So I want to welcome Viktor Bout to the show. Thank you very much for agreeing to be here. I know you've gone through a very trying experience, and I want to be respectful of that. But I do think we need to, talk about some issues to clear the air. So thank you very much. Let's just start from the beginning. You were arrested in 2008 in Thailand as part of a DEA, a Drug Enforcement Agency sting. Can you walk us through, from your perspective, what happened in Thailand, and then how did you get from there to a courtroom in the United States?
Good evening, Scott. It's nice to talk to you, and thank you for giving these opportunities, especially at this time and day where we're all facing a severe danger of the full world extermination. Because those crazy politicians, especially from the White House, are pushing us closer and closer to the nuclear Armageddon. Well, Thai's story is very simple. First of all, I was doing my business in Africa and the Middle East mainly, and never have anything to do or somehow harm any American interest. More over going conspire with somebody to go and to kill Americans in Colombia. This is a magic glue. Those magicians from the Southern District of New York and U.S. attorney using to stick you and get you life sentence, nothing works better than to bring to the pool of jurors in the Southern District of New York. Majority of them, very well, are liberals, and they are freshly mint Americans. So whatever, you just, show them one finger and they say, what to do. If you tell them to jump, they're going to ask you how high we have to jump. That's actually what's happened. That's why even my, presiding judge, even on the sentencing told, look, he's a businessman. You're not really committing any crime, but she forced to, follow the guideline and give me 25 years, which is, ridiculous. For what? For the thought crime? Because I was sitting with the undercover agents and they charged me with a conspiracy? What DA have to do with this case? I never been involved in any drug trade. For me, it's very simple. On the trial, Scott, you would not believe it. They have to disclose how much they spent. And they spent just to catch me $150 million. These two dupe bloody undercover agents, one is a Mexican, another Guatemalan. They've got, from my case, like one was eight, another $10 million of taxpayers' money. So the DA spent $150 million to frame me, to catch me, and spend for what? Couple trips to Europe, one trip to the Thailand? Give me the break. It's all about, siphoning money from the taxpayers. That's why America now is a nice, good, shining apple eaten inside for the, bunch of the worms until the only shell is left. This is, in a nutshell to tell you what's really happened. And then I was not really even extradited. Thai court never even finished with me. I still had a hearing there. And what they did, director of that jail where they hold me, because Americans only got 3 days. Even these 3 days, extradition transfer would not happen, and it wouldn't happen because court says, listen, we still have a hearing with this gentleman because appeal court ruled wrongly because they couldn't change facts of the case. The only facts of the case in Thailand are established by the first trial court, not the appeal court. Appeal court has to check whether all procedures been followed up. And now think of this: appeal court was gathered when the Thailand went into the lockdown for 3 weeks because they have this riot and attempt of revolution, if you remember. And then exactly in the same time, when the entire city was burning and literally in smoke, apparently 3 judges who not even supposed to be in this panel ruled that I has to be extradited. The judge, my judge who actually read that decision, said immediately to my lawyer, do urgent appeal to the Supreme Court. We qualified that Supreme Court hear this case. And they accepted my appeal. What Americans are doing, they immediately sent another extradition request, now trying to charge me with some wire fraud, apparently, because some purchase of some airplane went wrong somewhere in the world. So guess what? Later on, they dropped that case, yeah, but they stick to this one. And they knew that this, and in the trial, all this agent been called several times lying to the judges. Same in Thailand, same here. And guess what? Nothing can, stop them to achieving what they want. Finally, they've got their $150 million deal out of this. After me and before me, they went exactly same scenario, same indictment, everything same. Another 12 people on exactly like a, travel circus show, traveling from one city to another, doing exactly the same. Then they retired, and now they're traveling to giving the lectures. How good they are of the law enforcement. How many of the, bad guys they caught. How strong they help American security. Yeah, right. And then
look,
when
Victor,
there is no defense from conspiracy charges in America. So doesn't matter what you say or how you do or which appeal you do. Oh, this is a bad Russian. By that time, demonization of me already started. I was a character of that, Nicolas Cage, even on trial. When judge asked the agent, what you know about Victor? Oh, they said, very simple. We watched that movie. We read that book. Do you have a Russian interpreter in your team? No, we only had the Spanish. That's enough. And this is a quality investigative job of DAA. It looks like a joke.
I think it's important to step back just a second and remind the audience about what was going on in 2008, 2009, 2010, because that was the period that we're talking about here. The United States was engaged in a policy of regime change in Russia, where they were actively trying to keep Vladimir Putin from coming back into office after he did the swap with Dmitry Medvedev. And a key aspect of this was the demonization of all things Russia, to engender Russophobia in the minds of the American people. And to do that, they needed a bad guy. You became the bad guy. You became the symbol of everything that's bad about Russia, everything that's evil about Russia, why Russia can't be trusted. Now, they can't tell that story honestly because, the reality is, in the United States, we have a saying, you may have heard this, that we can indict a ham sandwich, meaning that a prosecutor could go before a judge and they can indict a ham sandwich. You, unfortunately, became the ham sandwich for Russophobia, and you were brought in. I don't know the details of your business life, and I don't need to. That's your business. It's not my business. The question here is, were you guilty of the charges that were proffered against you, and were you given a fair defense? And when you have a judge, and I've read her since then, she's now retired and she's spoken out, and she said that she had no choice. She had to sentence you to 25 years because the jury found you guilty of the crimes. But she said if she had been given the opportunity, she wouldn't have sentenced you to that thing, because the crimes you were accused of committing, what the case they even made against you, didn't fit the sentencing guidelines. And as you pointed out, and I've read your lawyer's appeals, he said they never made the case, and I believe it. I mean, I've looked at the material superficially. I'm not a lawyer, but I don't believe they made the case beyond a reasonable doubt to say there's too many inconsistencies in the case, too many contradictions. They were caught in too many lies. The old saying of one lie, all lie should apply. And so when you have a DEA agent on the stand or a witness and they lie, that means you must dismiss everything they say. But again, this was the Southern District of New York. They never lose a case, and you unfortunately got caught in the middle of it. So I think your story is extraordinarily important for a couple of reasons. One, as an American, I think it's important that we continue to expose the fact that our justice system is anything but. It's not a system of justice. It's a system of government domination, that if the government wants to send a signal, wants to shape opinion, they will pick somebody and they will use that person as a guinea pig to make the case. You, unfortunately, I believe, were the guinea pig for America trying to paint Russia in the worst possible light, to create a demon figure, a bad guy, to promote Russophobia. And it's a tragedy. Because what people don't understand, and I know I don't want to dig into this too much, but you lost how many years of your life in the American prison system? A lot. You spent a lot of time.
It was 14 years and 9 months.
Yeah. I mean, and I hope everybody listening here understands that. You sacrificed 14 years and 9 months of your life, and more than that, because remember, you were detained in Thailand in 2008. And so you lost that period too. For what? For a political show designed to shape public perception. You're a victim of the war of propaganda that took place. I'll ask you just simple quick. How many Americans have you killed?
0.
The answer is none. Yeah. How many Americans have you plotted to kill?
No one in my life. Yeah, I don't kill
right.
No one
This
in
is
my
my
life.
point.
And I'm not intending
but
to. Yeah.
But you're the most evil man in the world, according to the American press. And this is wrong.
According to the bite. Mm-hmm.
Pardon?
Yeah, according to the bite of all the, so-called Hollywood, and media, complex.
No, I agree. And so, look, my heart breaks about this story because I know what it's like to go to prison falsely accused. I only spent 3 years away from my family. You spent 14 years, 9 months. And I'm trying to impart to the audience how devastating that is. I mean, we look at you today, you're free, but you lost 14 years, 9 months. You have a family you didn't get to see for that period of time. I don't want to get into the prison experience, except to ask this. Was it a just system? Were you treated humanely, or was it something different? I mean, you don't have to get into details, but just roughly speaking, they put you away for 14 years, 9 months. Did they treat you as a human being, or did they treat you as an animal?
Well, it's, in MCC, they treat you like an animal, like a wild, animal, 3-month hold, and all kind of the stuff in 10 South. It's a most inhumane, I guess, lockup in the world. And I was very glad that the MCC was shut down finally, for everything happened there. And I do believe, American people sooner or later will do investigation about your justice system and persecute those who organize it and run it that way. About USP Marion is different story. I've been treated fairly there because there is a, professional who do the job there. And I try to stick to certain rule of respect, and I have a lot of respect to those correctional officers who've been in a USP Marion. I had no problem, and I was, as I told you, was treated fairly over there. Despite they attempt something for the prisoners, the system is set up such that it's becoming a whitewash. It's a warehousing of the people, waste of human beings, and just, killing people's life and time of doing nothing, of not being productive members. There is no any meaningful rehabilitation program or vocational training program. All that is just, whitewash to pass new budget. And by the way, let me tell you, most of the time in USP Marion, I was kept in so-called communication management unit. Communication management unit was not controlled by BOP, it was controlled by CTU. That's another very strange creature. And guess what? The budget for this CMU inmate was close to $1 million a year, while in BOP, the budget is about what now? 39, 42, whatever is latest figure you can check in a federal bulletin, they publish every year. So somebody again prepared a nice scheme how embezzle the money from the taxpayers. That's another, I want again to bring attention. Look, everywhere you touch in America, and American administration bureaucrats are great to organize a perfect, corruption scheme. They always figure pointing in other countries, there is a corruption there is a corruption there, but they are master champions of the fraud, corruption, embezzlement, and the waste of the taxpayers' money. That's exactly what's happening. Yes, this staff was, trying their best, in USP Marion to try to do, majority of them are, let me tell you openly, they support normal, family values. They support Trump. They are, pro, in a good sense, Second Amendment and so on. So we have a decent, good relation with the majority of the COs, and I was always treated fairly. I can't say anything, than that. But overall system, I guess, if nothing was done very soon, you guys, it's all remembers me the last years of Soviet Union, when, it's a lot of talk, it's a lot of problem out of blue, and nothing does, absolutely nothing about that.
Without giving away, anything that shouldn't be given away, what kind of support did you get from the Russian government while you were incarcerated? Were your family able to connect with you? Did the Russian government support you, or were you left to your own devices?
Well, I was surprised that the Russian government from get-go, almost from the day I was arrested in Thailand, counselors came and visited. They provided whatever assistance they can. There was a regular visits. They tried their way in Thailand to, return me back home. It's failed. Then in New York, I was always been visited by the consular workers. Embassy was very kind. Even ambassador visited me. There was a regular visits from the guys. They even subscribed me for the Russian newspapers for all that years, which is also significant, effort from their side, and I'm very appreciative for that.
How about your family? Were you able to be in contact with your family?
Yes, there is a BOP runs that, telephones, you can call your family. Basically, that's fine, except that in this CMU, Communication Management Unit, you're only able to do 2 calls a week, 15 minutes each, and you have to sign up like 2 weeks before for the slot of the time when you're going to call them, and if you miss it or phone's down, it's your problem. They don't reschedule it anymore, so this is a very, in my opinion, very stupid. If it's Communication Management Unit, you would think that the guys would be giving, at least enough opportunity to communicate, and they're going to check with whom you communicated. No, it's opposite. It's only name. They're never interested really to do nothing. In this communication management, there is no any programs. Nobody talks to you. Nobody does anything about that. It's just, keeping you there. It's like warehouse, human warehouse.
Yeah, no, the tragedy. Question I have for you is, What did what was it like when you found out you're going to be released? I mean, when did you find out you're going to be released, and how were you prepared for that?
Well, with all this brouhaha, what was happening in American media, after the Brittany Griner was sentenced, it was clear that something gonna happen. Only thing I didn't know when, so I was surprised, but not completely surprised. I was expecting that something like that can happen. They came early in the morning, about 4 o'clock. They brought up the boxes, so they tell me, "Pack, you were leaving with all your stuff." I packed my stuff. And when marshals show up to pick me up, again, city you intervened and to say, hey, he can't get his thing. So they send me without my books, my legal paper, my photos. I only received them 2 days ago, and still something is missing. Like they never sent me my tablet, which I purchased, and it's my property, and with all my MP3 songs there. Looks like your famous right for your personal property are not anymore applicable in America. They're just stealing your stuff, and there is no accountability for that.
How were you received when you came home? When you arrived back in Russia, how did the Russian government receive you? I'm sure your family received you very happily, but how about Russian society? Had they forgotten about you? Did they know who you were?
I guess,
were they supportive of your case?
I was surprised that Russian society, I'm kind of celebrity. Everybody knows me. Even I go to shopping mall or somewhere, everybody recognize me. Wishing me welcome back home. That they've been worried about me, supporting me. So it's overwhelming. I'm very grateful for Russian people that they show that character and the support they're showing to me. It's overwhelming, and I'm very glad to have that kind of reception here back home.
Now, the person that was released in exchange for you, Brittany Griner, has come back, and she's being used as a showcase again for how bad Russia is, how unjust the Russian system of justice is, how bad she was treated in prison, and designed basically use her story to turn the American public against Russia. You have a tremendous justification not to like the United States. You have every right to hate Americans, and maybe you do. But what is your feeling today about the United States? You went through this horrible experience. You witnessed firsthand the absolute lies and deceit of the American justice system. You were, wrongfully denied 14 years, 9 months of your life. And now you're in Russia, and you're taking a look at the state of relations between the United States and Russia. Do you want Russia to improve relations with America? Do you think Russia should have good relations with America? How do you feel about the United States?
Well, let's split, this in two different categories. There is American people, and there is an administration of a White House who pushing this policy on the people. I see the America right now that the American people are actually the guinea pig on which globalists trying to execute what they want to do all over the world. They're trying to destroy families. They're pushing up LGBTQ plus, whatever more pluses are coming. They're flooding the country with drugs. And my experience was very interesting. All this time I spent with Americans from rural, Southern Illinois, name it, Missouri, Tennessee, Florida, Texas, all over the country. And I learned a lot from these people, how they live. We share a lot of experience, how we grow up. And guess what? We're sharing more in common than we have differences. I believe that the character of American people and character of Russian people has a lot of common, which we can share. I don't see why we can't have a good relation. Look, traditionally, Russia was one country who helped United States to fight for independence, and then several times supporting, sending even flotilla during Napoleon Wars to the United States to prevent attack and so on and so on. We've been allied during World War II, and now apparently Russia is evil and you're trying to destroy us. I understand, during Soviet time we have ideological differences, but right now, look, is a more capitalistic that I would say Europe, we're less socialist than anybody else. It has a good and bad sides too. But what really worries me now with this situation in Ukraine, and you did a lot of, good shows about what's going on in Ukraine, that this is a really slippery, slope which lead us to the catastrophe. Initially, we thought, hey, this special military operation will run and Russia want to solve it as like a family fault. Look, my family has a family in Ukraine. We all intermingled and intermixed. But think of this. What would American people will think if Russia one day will, arm, train, let's say Mexico, and tell him, hey, you need to recapture the Texas. You need to recapture the Florida. You need to recapture New Mexico and California and Colorado because it used to be, for instance, this one. And then, we're going to supply them everything they need. Thousands of the Russian javelins, many, many thousands of the Russian Stingers. And finally, we're going to send the, Russian C-400, 300, name it. Will your people like it? No. So the proxy war, sooner or later, we will go into the full contact kinetic war, as your general says, and where is the end of it? And this is dangerous situation. And then we, people feel, and the all consequences of decision of your politician will fall. How he ends up in a nuclear exchange? How he ends up in else? It's a big, serious question. But unfortunately, I don't see these days any anti-war movement in America much. There is a couple of guys who are criticizing Zelensky, maybe you, maybe, Tucker Carlson, maybe somebody else. But apart of that, it's like a silence. Everybody waving Ukrainian flags. Yeah, let's go to the war. It looks like they are, rooting for some team which is playing international, league of the football. But guess what? These dangerous games, and I wish, that the people in America wake up as sooner as better and tell to their politician, hey, stop this madness. It will not end up. Russian people are decided to defend our interests and our people in Ukraine. Ukraine is artificial state. It shouldn't exist. And at this level and at this form, especially with the Nazis, what's happening now that the Nazism again reborn in Europe and Ukraine is their launch pad. Tomorrow Germany gonna declare that Hitler is now national hero, not a criminal anymore. Why? Because Bandera now legalized in Ukraine. And what is difference? Tell me, what is the difference? And we and you Americans and the French and the British, we fought against that evil, ideology. And now, apparently, we're fighting again, but this time, your government's on another side. They're supporting Nazi ideology. Where it will lead us? Again to the full-blown World War III? Rick, it's very dangerous situation, and I'm really concerned about this. And I don't see anywhere with this reaction of the politician of Europe. They like a sleepwalking to this war. Everybody talking like a talking heads. Oh, let's go destroy Russia. Let's go destroy Russia. Guess there was no in the history that anybody was able to destroy Russia. Yes, Napoleon went and took Moscow, but guess what? In 1 year, all his army was eliminated. And this is how this war will end. I'm sorry, I'm very emotional, but try to understand me as a Russian person. Coming back home and understanding, I went to these, freshly liberated territories of Lugansk and Zaporozhye territory, and I spoke to these people. I know what's going on from the first hand. I see what kind of the atrocities these Ukrainian neo-Nazis committing. And for me, it's very painful to see in your media all these people talking like they become a Nazi propaganda departments for these people. and nobody really exposing them for what you are, and your taxpayers' money going to finance them, the killing and shelling for past 8 years. How many kids in Donbass was killed by these neo-Nazis? And now all shelling happening in Donbass is by the, ammunition supplied by the Americans, by the French, by the Germans. And now they're saying, yeah, we're going to send the Patriots. Okay, send the Patriots. Oh, we're going to send them Abrams tanks. We're going to send them Leopard tanks. Okay, we have anti-tanks, weaponry. We're going to burn them. But it's what? They want to fight to the last Ukrainian? Nobody talks how many Ukrainians really died there. Nobody even tried to see the tragedy of those Ukrainians who are suffering under this regime because for past 8 years, their security service, anybody who opened any opinion was immediately put in upside or killed. It's worse than it used to be during the Stalin regime and back in the Soviet times.
First of all, Victor, you don't have to apologize for getting emotional. This is your country. This is your history. This is a tragedy that's taking place. So you have every right to be emotional about this. And I think it's important that people who are watching see your emotion. So often the airwaves are full of people who speak calmly, and they speak as if there's no big problem. Everything's going to be calmed down. No, we need people like you to speak openly, emotionally about this issue. You've earned every right to speak emotionally, so don't worry about it. I appreciate and I support your emotion because it's much needed in this larger discussion. You spoke earlier about the relationship you had with Americans who were incarcerated with you at Marion. I just have a simple question, I guess. How did they treat you as a Russian, and what was their opinion of Russia? I mean, these are people that probably come from working class backgrounds. Did you find that they had been propagandized when they initially met you? Did they have a certain opinion of you, who you are, what Russia was, or did you find that they had a realistic appreciation for you as a human being and for the Russian people as fellow human beings?
You would be surprised, but I've got a lot of interest from American, from Middle America, to find out what Russia is. And last maybe 4 or 5 years, majority of the guys was asking me how they can get to Russia. They said, we're done with this country. We don't want anymore. We want to immigrate to Russia. And I really believe that Russia offers now tremendous opportunity. With the all collapse of the normal society, with the normal family values, where the religion is still, religion, where the family is still family, where the school are not talking your kids how to, practice, anal and oral sex to the first graders. Russia looks like a really attractive place to be. Yes, we have the problems here and there, but, I found Russia tremendously improved with a first-class infrastructure, with a Moscow, with a mass transit system. Yes, there is a problems. We've been under all kind of the sanction. In fact, West now put on Russia more than 11,500 sanctions of all kinds. But look, still, our economy is functioning. In Moscow, any shopping mall or supermarket, you can find everything you dream of. It's all available. Yes, there is an inflation, but overall, I don't see any crisis or any, tension within the society. Moreover, Russian society now consolidated and fully supporting this, war effort which is going on. And by this, past 40, 45 days since Miles released, I don't see anyone who would tell me privately that he don't support this mission. They even more, they're saying, look, we're frustrated why our army cannot hit them hard. We need really to step up efforts and really do it. Why we missed the opportunity on the beginning of this to bomb them, to destroy this, to destroy that. And this is surprising to see this way.
I'll just touch on one last serious question, and then if you forgive me, I don't want to end with the kind of tense emotion. So I want to ask two questions just as a personal level. But the serious question touches on what you talked about. You left Russia in 2008. Russia was 8 years removed from the decade of the 1990s, which many people believe is one of the most horrible periods of Russian history since the Second World War, the period of Yeltsin, the economic collapse, etc. And so in 2008, you still had that. You returned in 2023. We've been told in America that Vladimir Putin's the worst thing that ever happened to Russia. We've been told that the Russian government doesn't care about the Russian people, that it's a corrupt government, that the Russian people are suffering because of this government. From 2008 to 2023, what changes did you see in Russia? Did you see same? Did you see improvement? Did you see it getting worse? What was your impression of Russia when you came home?
It's like you're coming back to the future. I came back to the Russia of my dreams. The country is changed beyond recognition. Moscow, especially area where I live around, is changed so much I couldn't really recognize where I am. Highways, real good quality highway system with the toll roads, the free roads. Now you can drive, on this road from Moscow to St. Petersburg to the south. Everything is a functional, everywhere, modern, high class, service, gas station. City is a change beyond recognition. Moscow now having the biggest electrical buses fleet in the world, and they're buying them like crazy. You go to Moscow so clean, even in the winter. Usually, the winter in Moscow was miserable. This time, I'm enjoying the Moscow. Look on the pictures how the Moscow look in the night now. Man, I myself sometimes, just overwhelmed with this. It's like you're looking at this, you can't believe what they did to put so much lightning, so much, all kind of everything is happening. There is all kind of Moscow government good for it, but as well as other cities. And, despite economical difficulties, whenever I talk to my, friends, my family, everybody has improvements in their life. Nobody tell me that life became intolerable or something. Yes, there is up and downs like anywhere in the world. Somebody is more successful, somebody less. And I understand that Russian government also time to time do, mistake, but at least they openly recognize them and trying to fix them. It's good that normal people can address their grievances, and usually, these grievances get, proper attention, they quickly fixed. Yes, we need to work on a lot of the issues, but remember that Russia for past 100 years, at least 3 times, like in history of my family and all families of Russian people, we've been losing everything at least 4 times. All property, all money, nothing was really passed from generation to generation. And every time we start again, accumulate something. And right now we have a literally somewhat peaceful period, maybe of 20, 25 years. And what we want to do, we just want to be left alone, not to be disturbed, not to be, brought up into this, war, and develop our society. We need to pay attention. And we have a huge country. We have so many opportunities for investment, for the work. Believe me, it's unbelievable what I'm seeing here, and unbelievable how I'm feeling about future of the Russia. But before that, we need really to solve that problem. And I really wish that American people, one of these days, gonna, take their proper decision, and eventually, sooner or later, we have no other choice but have a good relation with America for the future of this planet. Without proper relation between Russia and America, there is never be any stability or peace in this planet. And that's why I know that globalists will fail. Finally, people who support a right, case, gonna win in America, prevail, and then Russia will have a good relation.
From your lips to God's ears. Let's pray for that outcome. Now, Viktor, you have to forgive me the next 2 questions. They're personal questions.
You're welcome.
You speak very good English, and your bio suggests that you may have attended the Moscow Institute of Foreign Languages. Did you graduate from the Moscow Institute of Foreign Languages?
I graduated from the Moscow Military Institute of Foreign Languages.
Okay, because my wife graduated in 1988 from the Moscow Institute of Foreign Languages, Maurice Thérèse, and I was just wondering if you and she happened to be classmates.
No,
and then
she knows about it. We've been their military equivalent for Army.
She knows about it. Yes, she does. Okay, and then the last question again deals with my wife, and please forgive this question, but Nicolas Cage is her favorite actor. What did you think of Nicolas Cage's role in the movie?
Honestly, its only movie survived because of Nicolas Cage there. If they would come and ask me, I would really suggest them way better script, way better story, not so, demonizing African or putting, I mean, it's really imagination. It has very little reality with Africa and little reality what's going on in the world.
But Nicolas Cage did an okay job.
Look, it's always personal. I wish this never happened, but trying to be as an observer of that, I would say he's a great actor, though he played a lot of because of his impersonation and attachment of this hero to my name, served a lot of bad for me, for which I have to be punished, because they already created the story, and it's easy then to convince the crowd, oh yeah, this is a bad guy. That's only problem I have. Otherwise, well, I wish everybody good luck and good health. They have to answer before the God for what they did.
And this is an important point. Now we're going to get back to being serious. And this is how I'm going to close. You're a human being, and I hope through this discussion that we've had today that the audience recognizes you as a human being, a man with a family, with a life, with dreams, with visions, with hopes, with aspirations. And for 14 years and 9 months, you were denied this by my government. And one of the reasons why is because of propaganda. Because as we talked about the Nicolas Cage movie and how that was used against you, how it wasn't about the real you, it was about the fake you. And you were used politically by my government to create an image of Russia that was negative. And your name has become synonymous with, here in the United States, with bad things, with propaganda. The only way we're going to get out of this is to cut through the propaganda and get to the truth. And the truth of the matter is, the man that I've spoken here today comes across as a good man, an honorable man, a man who loves his country, and a man who wants peace between his country and a nation that has done so much harm to him, my country. I thank you very much for being here today. I thank you for opening yourself up. I thank you for sharing your story. And most of all, I thank you for providing a vision of hope. Somebody in your position could be full of anger and bitterness and not wanting to have better relations with the United States, but you're sending the exact opposite message. And for that, Viktor, I thank you very much. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. And that's the show, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you learned something from this. I know I did. We got to see a different side of a very complicated story, and we got to see a human being who is making his way back into life, and despite all the obstacles that are put in front of him, is somebody who is hoping for better relations between the United States, the American people, and Russia, the Russian people. That's really something we should all be aspiring to. Thank you much for tuning in, and remember, knowledge is power.